Every single day, we're interacting with a crisis that's pretty much silent. It's in the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat. So today, we're going to dig into environmental pollution, what it is, where it's coming from, and the very real impact it has on every single one of us.
Really, it all boils down to this one critical question. The air, the water, the soil that grows our food. These are literally our planet's life support systems. So what happens when they get poisoned? Okay, let's dive in.
First things first, we need to be on the same page. What exactly are we even talking about when we use the word pollution?
Okay, so the official definition might sound a little academic, but there's a key phrase in there we really need to focus on: undesirable change. This is so important because pollution isn't just the obvious stuff, like a plastic bag on the sidewalk. It's any fundamental shift in our environment that messes with life and the very systems that keep us all going.
Now, it's also crucial to note that not all pollutants are created equal. On one side, you've got your biodegradable stuff. Think paper, food scraps, things that nature can actually break down and deal with. But then you have the non-biodegradable troublemakers. We're talking plastics, heavy metals, certain chemicals. These things don't break down easily. They just stick around for a very, very long time.
So where does all this stuff come from? Well, our source material makes a pretty direct connection between pollution and, frankly, the incredible scale and speed of human activity.
And wow, just look at these numbers. This table really illustrates the point. This isn't just a small increase in resource use over 45 years. This is an explosion. Take oil production. It didn't just double, it shot up by more than 5 times. And fertilizer use? It went from 14 million tons to 125 million. That is not a gentle curve, folks. That's an exponential leap.
To really see what we're talking about, let's just zoom in on one of these, CFCs. The chemicals that became infamous for eating a hole in our ozone layer. Production just skyrockets from 42,000 tons to 300,000. This chart makes it painfully clear. We weren't just polluting a little bit more. We were doing it at a speed the planet had never experienced before.
And all of that explosive growth, well, it has consequences. And some of the most immediate and, frankly, terrifying consequences happen when the very air we need to live turns against us.
Let's go to a specific time and place. December 2nd, 1984. Bhopal, India. This date marks one of the absolute darkest moments in industrial history, a true case study in catastrophic air pollution. What happened that night is just a nightmare. A pesticide plant had a massive failure. It released 40 tons of a highly toxic gas, methyl isocyanate, or MIC for short, and it just silently drifted over the sleeping city.
In the immediate aftermath, around 2,500 people died. Just like that, a staggering loss of life in a single night.
But that was only the beginning of the horror. An estimated 100,000 more people were left with horrific injuries as the gas literally burned their eyes, their noses, their throats, and their lungs.
And for those who survived, the nightmare didn't just end when the gas cleared. Research uncovered just devastating long-term effects. Survivors were left with permanent lung damage, deep psychological trauma. The rate of spontaneous abortions among women who were exposed tripled. And their children? They suffered from illnesses like fever and breathlessness at rates 2 to 4 times higher than others.
You see, the Bhopal tragedy is this stark, gut-wrenching reminder that the consequences of pollution aren't just numbers. They are deep, multi-generational human tragedies that just keep unfolding long after the initial event.
Okay, so Bhopal was a sudden, massive disaster. But pollution isn't always like that. A lot of the time, it's a much slower, more widespread kind of poisoning, the steady contamination of our water and our land.
And where does it all come from? Well, pretty much everywhere. You've got sewage from our cities, waste, and even just waste heat from factories. You have all the fertilizers and pesticides running off from farms. You have devastating oil spills. And of course, the big one everyone's talking about, plastics. Millions upon millions of tons of it ending up in our waterways.
Now, this is where things get really sneaky and dangerous. When these persistent pollutants, like certain pesticides or heavy metals, get into the environment, they don't just vanish. Nope, they get absorbed by the tiniest organisms, right at the bottom of the food chain. That very first step is called bioaccumulation.
And from there, it gets even more alarming. This is where a process called biomagnification kicks in. As you can see here, a small fish eats some plankton that has a little bit of the toxin.
Then a bigger fish eats a whole bunch of those small fish. Then a bird eats that bigger fish. At every single step up the food chain, that pollutant doesn't just get passed along, it becomes more and more concentrated. A tiny, seemingly harmless amount in the water can build up to a lethal dose for an animal at the top.
All right, so we've talked about things we can often see or smell, but what about the threats that are invisible? The dangers we can't always see, or in this case, even hear.
Let's talk about noise. I mean, we are all surrounded by it, right? Especially if you live in a city. But at what point does it stop being just sound and start becoming pollution? Well, the definition is pretty clear. It's any sound that's unwanted or so loud that it actually causes us stress or damages our hearing.
And this is not just about being annoyed by a car alarm going off. The health effects are honestly pretty shocking. We're talking about real physical problems linked to being exposed to constant noise. Increased adrenaline, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, even stomach ulcers and insomnia. It can even lead to more aggressive behavior. It's like our bodies are in a constant low-level state of fight or flight. So, when you put it all together, what's the big takeaway? From the invisible stress of noise to the chemicals building up in the food we eat, our activities have left a profound mark on every single part of our world. We're not separate from this pollution, we are immersed in it. It's in us.
So, we've seen what pollution is, how it is absolutely exploded, and the devastating impact it can have. The evidence is pretty clear. The only question that really remains is, what do we do with this knowledge? What does the next chapter of this story hold for all of us?